Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do it. Happy Labor Day to you and yours. We're with GP, Nick, after a little hiatus with the anniversary last week. Nick, thanks for coming back. It is September 4th, 2023, Labor Day Monday here, and your boys are back with another live TA report. How you guys doing? How was the weekend? Hope you were able to get some rest.
My weekend was good. We did my mom loved picnics, so we did a tribute to her by hosting a picnic today for
That's
her.
excellent.
Yeah.
Nicholas?
Yeah, it was a rowdy weekend. I was down at a music festival.
That's why you're
Were
the
you
weather.
caught in the playa?
I'll say what?
Were you caught at Burning Man playa?
No, they're a client of mine actually. So I was down. I was definitely part of the rowdy bunch, but it was kind of a work and party weekend.
Nice.
It was a festival called Shangri-La. A lot of like kind of, I don't know. It's like a cross of like hippies and Renaissance festival type people.
Like medieval times.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It was, music's great though, so it was good. It was super. God, it's been like in the 90s, almost 100 this weekend, so it's been super hot. And where the festival grounds is, it's like about an hour south. It was just super dusty, so I don't know if I'm catching a cold or if I'm just draining all the dust from my nostrils.
Or you got COVID.
Or I got COVID. Very, very true. Sounds like whatever's going around right now is pretty nasty.
Well, we hope you don't have any.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Hey, we teased last week. It's time for our Q3 stock picks, but we're going to save that toward the end of the show. There's a lot to talk about and a lot to cover. We have a shortened market this week, obviously. Today is Monday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is all we have for market trading. But GP, who would have known this huge fuck me daddy bar here coming in on the Qs for the week? A little lower volume than previous weeks, but hey, we'll take it. It was up big, 3.75% up. I think the bears are in disbelief. What say you?
Same thing I said all year. Is kind of how
We're going to zero.
Yeah, that's part of the rhetoric. The other part is
Limit down.
Every opportunity to put the gas on the accelerator and destroy bulls, bears have lost it, right?
Yep.
That's the reality of, sorry, not bears, but people who are macro doom or this is just a bear market. There's still people saying this is a bear market
Bear
rally.
market rally.
This is, to me, kind of nuts, but it's possible. We could rally 65%, which means you miss 65% before we die. But that's a whole different conversation. I think every opportunity to sell has not met its doom. And maybe it's next week, maybe it's not. But until that trend changes, why not just stay on the right side of the trend? And that trend is now, since the first week of January, when we reclaimed the weekly 21 or 20 moving average. It has not changed that trend. So for me to get bearish right now, you could argue that the weekly MACD isn't a bear cross, so we could potentially fail here. Yes, all that stuff is possible, but until price action shows any kind of resemblance to that, I'm not sure why you're still bared up.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And I put this RSI line on there a long time ago. It was like above this good, below this bad, and look where it bounced, right where it should have. Cookie points out that he feels like this is a lot like the cycle we were in back here coming out of COVID. I see some resemblances there. And, if you break it down in fractals, but not week over week. So I see some resemblances that, once we get into September, we could chop a little bit sideways and then it's off to the races once the fall gets here. Nick, you've had some time to not pay attention to the market and just getting back. I know you were bulled up before you left.
Yeah.
Anything of the price action make you change your mind?
No, even looking at the daily, just as we're talking, I mean, the Q's basically tested that gap. What is that? Let's see, August
354, 59.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm still bold. I think it looks great.
Still bulled up.
I think even on the week, like I think the weekly even looks better than. I like the weekly time frame almost more than anything else.
Yeah, it looks really good.
We also acknowledge that the fact that just 2 weeks ago, everyone was calling for the end of the world. And 2 weeks later, we're talking about whether we should be bull or bear, right? Like literally the first 3 weeks of August, everyone was like, this is the end game. And some stocks got absolutely hammered. I'm not arguing that the price action wasn't crappy, but ultimately, where did that land, right? And that landed right back at 378.
Yeah, just looking at the Qs, it kind of looks like you could probably use that 354 as kind of a floor right there. If we take that out, might be setting up for like just another leg. Kind of to retest like the 330s, but you have the two that I mean on my weekly I've got the 30 and the 40 week both curled, coming up. God, I don't know.
SPY up, Bags.
What's up?
You got the SPY up real quick.
There you go.
So, like, I've talked about the Adam and Eve bottom. No one's still talking about it, but it'll be my mission to kind of get people to start talking about the Adam and Eve bottom. But the SPY, you have that straight line down from August 2022 to October 2022. It's kind of a rounding bottom. You have that kind of Adam and Eve point. We came back and tested that area right there this time around, and we held. This is what bull markets do, right? They come back and test resistance and they hold. They don't break down. So Qs might be slightly lower volume, but where's the SPY volume here?
Yeah, it's higher.
Yeah. So I think what you're seeing is technology is maybe lagging for sure. And some of the moves in technology have been pretty kind of like 30-40% down, right? Like Upstart got smoked. So maybe it's lagging, but overall what's happening is that you're seeing more of a broad-based rally. You see energy picking up, you see, except for utilities, but you see so many other things starting to participate, right? Like it's not just technology. Things are starting to rotate into more of a broader base rally. And you can see that via the SPY more than the Qs because, and this has been sideways forever. And dude, look at regional banks, KRE.
Yep. They exploded on Friday.
Yeah. And so what does that tell you? That whatever banking crisis they manufactured, by the way, US Treasury banking crisis, the most risk-free assets were a crisis. And though this is about duration risk, right, ultimately, but what are we doing? We pretty much created inverse head and shoulders. We popped higher. We came back to test the inverse head and shoulders here, and we're starting to break higher again. Right? You weeded out the crap and we're moving higher. I think I talked about this in March. You're going to look back 6 months from now. It's going to be one of the biggest daylight thieveries in the markets. So there's so much more starting to participate, and that's what you should. I think I did the thing last week on the SPY. 277 of the 502 companies were green for the year, right? For an average of 13 or 14%.
One quick thing on the Qs versus the SPY. I mean, the Qs have led us since October, right? The Qs are up, 50+% from low to high. SPY, the S&P is only up 30%. And I think, we talk about flow and time frames, right? And I don't mean flow as option flow or money flow. I'm talking about just how money rotates from one to another. It can be time for the Qs to slow down a little bit, but I don't know that I'm a believer that they're ready to slow down just yet. I mean, it could still easily, we're within like what, 3% of these all-time high closes. Yeah, 6% from these all-time high closes. So I don't necessarily think that the Qs are topped out. I just brought the volume piece of it up because it was a little bit lower. But did you see how they ran Apple up on Friday at the close?
Yeah.
Like, my God, look at this. I mean, this is just straight up into the close on Friday.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, the volume on the upside is always lower than the volume on the downside. It's the volume on the downside when it goes, like, I think you'll see if you look at the 313 weekly bar on the Qs, that's what you want to see. You have it up?
313.
Yeah.
Right.
Monster bullish engulfing, right? Look at that volume spike after 6 weeks of destroying everyone, right? Sideways that whole month of February, the first week of March, and then mid-March, you see that monster bullish engulfing on uptick in volume. So what did you see? Not this week, but the week before that in the Qs. You had not even a bullish engulfing, but a bar that was actually breaking out over the last week's high. And what did you see? An uptick in volume. So yeah, that like there's evidence to say that this will continue. I still think it's going to chop a bit, but I think higher and all-time highs is more than likely this year.
Randy's
Sure,
mad
definitely.
at us. He says, Jesus, put up a rotational chart showing large cap tech is slowing down. I don't know how to do that in trading view, Randy, but let's just look at QQQ versus SPY. All right. Like, looks like it wants to go higher to me. Or QQQ versus IWM. This is not even like QQQ versus KRE. There's a little bit of a divergence there, maybe. Anyway.
I mean, it kind of seemed, look, between like, Amazon, Google, some of those, they've just been stair stepping. And I think looking at the Qs, regardless of whether or not they're slowing down or not, I think we have a pretty defined like 380, 350 range that we're in. So whether we move sideways or what, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't really.
And the
That's
individual
the
names
range until it isn't.
Yeah, the individual names can still work well. We've talked about in the past, right, where it only takes a couple of the megas, and by the megas, I'm talking about Amazon, Apple, Google, Meta, right, Tesla, NVIDIA. You only need 2 to 3 of those continuing to move higher. The rest of them can be a little sloppy, as we've seen in the past, to sort of pull up everything else up by the bootstraps. So I don't think that that's necessarily wrong. I mean, you look at Google, I pointed out, I mean, has looked stronger than most of the rest of the big cap, and it has to a large extent languished for a while more than the others. So I think the rotation between those big names can still prop up the market, regardless whether you get big returns from one individual mega cap name or not.
I don't know what Duzio was yapping about at all over the weekend. Again, I wasn't around, but I would imagine this is probably what he's been largely waiting for is the big cap to kind of. I mean, they have been
slow down.
largely,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then like how many people had given up on XBI,
right,
And
Everybody.
then
right.
everyone had given up on XBI and then puts back-to-back green weeks in, right?
Yep.
I'm not saying it's ready to break out of the range, but this is rotation, right? Like there's rotation in names, and when you have rotation in names, you don't have a bear market, right? Bear markets are relentlessly to the downside. We all experienced what it looked like in 2022, right? We all experienced what it looked like in 2020. It was unadulterated kind of selling. So we're coming into everything. It wasn't like a lot of times people say, we've talked about this so many times on the podcast, which is you want to hedge your risk by being in gold or whatever. No, when the market's selling like that, you want to be in cash, because when the market stops selling, you want to be able to deploy that cash without having anything tying you down, thinking you have to, should I sell this stock? No, if you sold, you'd have cash, and instead you could buy gold, and gold's only down 20% where the market's down 50%.
Right.
And you'd be like, shit, I'm still down 20% on gold. Do I sell this here? Right. Versus if you had cash.
That was one of the best things that I did coming out of the 2020 or into and out of the 2020 COVID crash that we had. Was I went to a very, very large position of cash, more cash I'd ever had in my account. And what did I do? I sold puts to open near the bottom. And that's how I was able to get Marvell. That's how I was able to get some of my Cloudflare position. Was I was just patient to be able to let I was getting paid to wait to go long on those names. And those are some of my biggest winners historically. And that was because I had such a hefty position in cash that I didn't have to be in a hurry to just grab everything on the way down. Now, I could have bought a lot of names on the way down, but I didn't know what was going on in that environment. Not a lot of people knew what was going on in that environment. And I was like, all right, here's a few names that I want to be involved in that I'm going to be able to create quite a big position in by just selling these puts.
Yep.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about NVIDIA. I thought NVIDIA was dead after earnings, right? Like all the bears in the world, all the ladies, if you hear me, right? They were saying, after this huge sell-off, after it, went above 500 and yada, yada, yada. And what does NVIDIA do to back it up? Oh, it's only up 5.5% for the week. I wish somebody had told us, GP.
I'd never said anything. I would never say such a thing. To get bull NVIDIA, right? There was no conversation around the institutional ads in the last quarter that they're not selling on one earnings report. We never had those conversations either.
Yeah.
I think people forget like psyche when it comes to stocks, and it's mind-boggling that after so much research around what human psychology looks around like in stocks is like this, NVIDIA is just starting to me, like not just starting, obviously it's up a lot, but that, and now I see all the conspiracy theories right now. I don't know if you've been following any of that around CoreWeave, and I was like, oh my gosh, can Twitter stop feeding my feed with all this nonsense? I was like, I just people talk to me about price action, because price action so far says inside week on NVIDIA after a monster volume week, right? So now you want to see what happens. Do we break higher or do we break lower? And to me, it's probably going to break higher.
I just go back to the people who, it's overvalued even under $200, right? Like, it's at whatever PE, whatever multiple, it's too expensive. And as I've said many times in the past, I believe all that's hogwash just for reasons to give you a reason to sell a stock, right? Price action is everything. And Nick, I don't know what you see here, but I see a pretty strong move that doesn't really show signs of a give up just yet, just based on the volume and the indicators.
Yeah, I think NVIDIA looks phenomenal. I'm kind of in GP's camp where I think like it's just getting started. Like it literally just broke out in May.
And
looking at the weekly, so like looking and then more or less since that breakout, we've been in a range, really 480 to 380, and now we're getting ready to bust above that. We might have had an inside week, but we had an inside week and up. Off the 10 week, we closed above the high. It was an inside week and it was the highest closing. The fuck? We had an inside week, but we also had the highest weekly close on the chart. So
the second highest volume since 2020 in the name.
Yeah.
The second highest monthly volume in the name since 2020.
Yeah, and they were conservative. We talked about this. Like, what if they're conservative about their guide out? And dude, they were conservative. What if they continue to be conservative in their guides up? What's the next guide? I think 11 billion or 16 billion.
22.
Is it 22 billion?
No, I don't know. I'm just saying that the way they've been conservative, no matter what they say, just slap a double on that, and you've got probably what it is.
But isn't that the mind-blowing part? They came in at 7.2, I think, last quarter, and they got it up to 11. Instead, they came in at 13. They essentially had doubled their revenue quarter over quarter sequentially, not year over year, sequentially. That is mind-blowing numbers. And maybe they're wrong. Maybe they're faking it all. 100% that's possibility, because nothing would surprise me about anything that comes out of Wall Street and the markets. I'm not saying that's not a possibility, but my gosh, what if their 16 billion is on the conservative side? They ramp up production and every chip gets bought, and they're now sitting at 24 billion. And next quarter, or 18 billion. So from 2 quarters over, they're going to go from 7 billion to 18 billion. That is an insane level of ramp.
I don't know how the perma bears have any money left. Either that, they're just all talk and they're not backing up their positions with their mouth.
No, they're short the Qs, but long NVIDIA. That's how they're doing it. I figured it out. I really did. I spent time on this. So they're losing on all their puts, but they're making so much money on NVIDIA that it doesn't matter.
But they're the ones the zero bears I'm talking about are the ones who badmouth NVIDIA every day.
Yeah, but they're secretly long, don't you know?
All right.
They're secretly long the entire month.
I see where you're going with that. It's like a grudge fuck, right? Like, I hate you so much.
Yeah.
I hate you.
That's ridiculous. Oh.
Yeah. That's where we went with the pod tonight. I mean, it's a holiday weekend. I've had a couple cold pops. All right, leave me alone.
At least we're not like Chalmers and talking about mids. Gosh, that guy is. Oh, I don't know why he still talks and why people still listen to him. But
who is the biggest bear on NVIDIA right now, or who is spouting off the most?
As far as an analyst, I don't know, but like I see the comments every day in my stream, and it's just like I don't need to hear from you. You have been
wrong.
You have been so wrong for so long that if anyone listens to you at this point, like, you have either cost me from making a lot of money or have lost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, they go one and the same. If you're costing me for making money, I feel like I'm losing money anyway. But if I bet against NVIDIA since the bottom, like, you're toast. You're toast.
Yes, and then you'll have the people who are like zero DTEers and but like, oh, I'm short NVIDIA here after like a 40% run. And like, oh, I told you it was a good short, and I was like, say what? You literally were the same person who at 200 were saying this is probably the end of the move and it's probably going down, and we're sitting at 500, right? So you've been wrong for 300. Yes, intraday shorts and day traders will always find opportunities. That's never the conversation here. It's
Yeah.
always a conversation about long-term.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and we talk time frame a lot, and we've talked about me using 0 DTE puts on the Qs and SPY like multiple times a week, right? Like, so it all depends on time frame, but I'm not saying that you know, from any point in this scale right here, has NVIDIA been, I have not said you should have a sustained short period in NVIDIA at all, in anywhere that is yellow.
Yeah.
Looks like a yellow, I don't know, something there. But anyway, this right
We
here.
talked about this. We talked about this in February too, right? Where like we're in a cycle and a trend in video where the shorts are gonna get absolutely decimated. That was off the mid-January. What are you doing, Bags?
What do you mean, what am I doing?
You're coloring?
Oh, I was coloring.
Oh, my bad. I'm looking at the wrong feed here.
You're watching the YouTube.
Yeah, my bad. I was looking at the questions. I was like, what are you doing?
It's all right. No, you're good. Well, let's hop into something that we don't often do a lot, is like our expectations short term. Historically, and I'm just going to use Bitcoin as an example here, September has been most likely a down month in the history of Bitcoin price action. I'm not using that as a general statement for the market. I'm just saying, we know August was down till it came up, right? In the final week here.
Yeah.
What do we see as going forward? Because seasonality tends to start picking up once we get into late October, early November. We get, the Santa rally and everything else as we get into the winter. But usually the late summer, the first start of autumn tends to be a little choppy, tends to be a little sloppy, isn't always straight up. But 2023 has been anything but a normal year. So let's prognosticate a month, like we're going to prognosticate out a quarter with our stock picks shortly. But let's prognosticate a month on just what we think things look like. And GP, I don't know if that changes your outlook at all, or Nick, but I just feel like it's not something we often do.
So what's the question again?
What do we think like the next month in price action across the Qs or the SPY are going to look like? What's the market going to look like over the month of September?
I think we take out all-time highs. That's me.
This month, we're going to take out all-time highs.
Yeah.
You heard it here.
Sure.
GP says all-time highs across both SPY and Qs.
I think the Qs, and I think I don't know if it'll hold the all-time highs, but I think we at least get very close to it, like maybe 40,
All right,
404, somewhere around there, 402. So close to it. I would say it's going to be a pretty decent month, personally. But yeah, it's got all the kind of the indications of they used August as a way to get a lot cheaper entries in so many different names.
Yeah, we held up like looking at the weekly, I have fibs drawn from basically like I was kind of looking at 308, 310 as kind of like my breakout on the Qs. And so I extended my fibs up. We held the 0.382 off the July, what is that, July highs, July 21st bar. God, It's tough for me to say if if it's going to be this month, but I would definitely say this quarter going into the end of the year.
All-time highs before the end of the quarter. Nick, that's where
Yeah.
you're going with it.
Yeah, at the very least, we're testing all-time highs, I think.
All right, here I go. Here goes Bags' thesis. GP, I think you're right. I think we're going to get up to that 400, 398, 400 level. And then I think we're going to have a clinched butthole action to the downside and really scare the bejesus out of a couple people. And then we're going to rip into October, November, December. So I think more something like, there's my highlighter, something like this. That's kind of generic, but
Yeah, so it almost kind of looked like
a double top.
yeah, or like kind of like a breakout failure to retest the low end of
Yeah.
that range, and then we hold and rip. Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
I
think there's so much animal spirits going on right now, and I've tweeted this a bunch over the past week. It's just nonstop buying, and I don't know that that's going to sustain itself once we get up here. And I think there's going to be some. I'm not saying it's a black swan event because I don't think it's going to crash like that, but I think we might have a week or two of some big red bars, and that's going to scare some people really quick, and then we'll base and go higher. So I kind of feel like this is like step one of a pullback and go right here that we've experienced in August. And I think we're going to get step two, and then step three is going to be blowing minds and backs out for Santa Claus.
love it.
I'm going to use my little tool here and kind of articulate that better. But we'll see. GP, I'm not opposed to just a straight gas and go, all gas, no brakes type of situation. Not opposed to that at all.
I
kind of feel like something like that's going to happen right here. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it comes that deep. I don't know how deep it goes, but I think
like I said, I think we're gonna get close to that all-time high. I don't think we're gonna actually close above it. I could be wrong. Obviously.
So we're all buying puts at 400.
Yeah, I would say so. On a monthly, the highest close on the Qs is 397.85, right? So that's probably the area where you kind of want to start watching what happens to the markets, right? And we always have Momo always to the downside and upside that overshoots, right? So I'd look to that reversal bar from, I think it's January 4th of 2022. Yeah, January 4th. It got to about 402, 403.
Yep.
That monster kind of very nonchalant reversal bar of the sideways base for like 3 months. That's the one I'd be looking for.
Yeah. All right.
I think it's going to be really hard to take that kind of area out on the first try.
So what's some things that could derail us? I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the world? I mean, Jay Powell and the Fed seem to be, like he even said at Jackson Hole, he doesn't know what the hell's going on anymore. He doesn't know what the fuck to do. It doesn't sound like the other Fed governors have the appetite to continue ratcheting up rates at this point. They're kind of mutish. I'm not going to call them dovish because nobody's talking about cutting rates. But I think they're kind of content. We've talked about this over the last 18, 19, 20 months, that they often overstay their welcome, right? Like they're too late to start and they go beyond where they should to take it, right? They don't wrap up as quickly as we often think they should. So I don't know that rates are going to be a catalyst. I don't know it's going to be a catalyst for a shake and bake to play out in late September, October-ish time frame. But yeah, I just feel like there's something out there. I can't put my finger on it. It feels like double topish, but as we've talked about in the past, what the false moves become or fake moves, false moves become fast moves. I think it could not be a full breakdown from a double top. Anyway. We have a few minutes before we jump into our stock picks. If anybody has a chart out there they want us to look at, actually, the
Yeah,
next.
while you're doing that, I think what you also have to look is like on the cues to look at the quarterly. So far, 2 months into the third quarter here, we have spent the entire body of the bar on the cues above prior month's close, right? Like, so
Well
like
above.
that, yeah.
Well above.
And so that's like, we always talk about this, which is start with your highest time frame. Yearly is not as effective, obviously, right? But on a quarterly, where it's looking like so the quarterly is sitting above last month's bar. So that's cool. What's the monthly looking at, right? And the monthly is a long wick down and kind of an inside month, right? If you get rid of wicks as an appearance, that's an inside month. And so far we're starting the month lower. Obviously, month's only 1 day in. But this is kind of like where I start, as always. We talked about this last week too. So
Nick, anything to add?
No.
throw up the Netflix chart monthly. Nick, that's as tight as you can get a 3 months tight.
Oh, what was I looking at?
Yeah.
I was scanning charts and there was something like with a stupid several months tight. There you go. There's one. There's a 5 month tighter.
So that's 4 months tight, 5 months now, 1 day in. Look at what happened in 2021, right? 1, 2, 3, kind of 4 months tight, and then it finally broke out. And what did it go from? Shit, 60 to 240. Holy crap. Anyway,
it was beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a large reason why.
And look, even in 2020, at the bottom there, how many months tight is that? That's coiled, maybe not months tight, but that's super coiled. And then what did it do? It went from 15 to 60, 80.
Yeah, it's a beauty.
Yeah.
One of my all-time best decisions, Cloudflare. God bless you.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal trade. I don't really remember where I had plenty of it, but I don't remember where at this point.
What we always talk about as well, it doesn't matter how you start the month, it's how you finish it, right? It doesn't matter how you start the day, it's how you finish it. It doesn't matter how you start the week, it's how you finish it. So as bearish as August was, how did it finish?
Not bearish.
Yeah.
Okay. Your charts, your request, Tilray. Big week for pot stocks last week. The government, I guess, is looking to move marijuana to a Schedule 3, which would greatly reduce any prosecutions of marijuana, which bodes well for the industry, considering it's not legal in every state. So everything pot jumped last week. As you can see, MJ, these are the ETFs, YOLO. Somebody asked me the other day, what's the difference between MJ and YOLO? MJ is just a static ETF. YOLO is actually a traded managed ETF. So they're in and out of YOLO. Think of YOLO as more of Cathie Wood style. Canopy Growth obviously had a pretty big day or week rather. And seasonality is almost upon us for marijuana stocks, for cannabis stocks. I think October starts the beginning of cyclicality. That's another big winner I had back in 2021 was putting a big call position on the old MJ. Where was that at? Yeah, it was like back here in October. Yeah. That's a nice little move there that I not quite the top, but it was up in the 30s when I sold out. So it's a big move.
That CGC quarterly candle. Holy bananas.
Wow. Look at that
Oofda.
volume too.
What the hell? Yeah, so
Jeez.
Anyway, Vanessa
might be
asked about
buying
Tilray. Like this is all news generated. Like again, like if you really like the pot stocks, pick one and ride it, I guess. I always liked playing the ETFs, but big news for the cannabis industry if that holds. I mean, right now on the weekly, it's you got a crossover between the 9 and the 20. You took out the 50. I think that's a pretty easy stop right there, right? Like if it undercuts this range, it's not something I would want to be in. But anyway, my take.
I was reading something about if they pass the Schedule C or whatever that degradation and drug classification, it immediately adds about like 50% to their earnings.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be a big deal if it happens, when it happens.
Yeah.
Congress has been slow to do anything about marijuana stock or marijuana industry, cannabis industry. It's completely in their hands, but moving it from a lesser schedule would definitely be a positive. Todd Lust, Unity Software, a name I have loved in the past. I haven't looked at it recently. I don't know. What do you guys think about you? Nick, you moved in and out of you, right?
Yeah, I was long. I don't have it anymore, but I still like it. It's just the breakout more or less failed and it's back within the range. Still on the radar.
As so many are, aren't they? Isn't that kind of crazy?
I mean, it's got a pretty nice if I can find my tools here. I'm struggling with the drawing tools today. You got a nice fat range. Actually, I'd probably make it look like that even.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice range. That
it's definitely stage one building.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure somebody's going to squint their eyes and think that might be a inverse head and shoulders. It's not really, but
just the base.
Yeah, it's just the base. WW.
Weight Watchers International.
Oh.
Not my cup of tea, but there are worse charts out there for sure. GP, your take?
Why?
All right, there you go.
Like I don't like, it's literally how many you can buy the bottom of the range and great, but it's literally sitting, it IPO'd in 2002 at 29. It's sitting at $9 and yes, can go higher. It's a monster broadening formation on the quarterly, to be honest, but I don't know. Like what's their growth trajectory? That Americans are just going to get fatter and fatter?
That's pretty spot on.
Yeah. And it still can't perform. We've been getting fatter and fatter for like nearly 4 decades. So
on holdings and their footwear and apparel. Not in the name. We've been asked about on a bunch. I mean, if personally, this is my own take. If I'm going to buy apparel, I'm going straight to Lulu.
Yeah,
That's just me. I don't see anything here that makes me want to be active subjectively. Looking at the chart, I would want to see it hold this little range right here. If it can't do that, I don't want it. I would say
Are we
that's
looking at on?
yeah, on.
Yeah. New IPO, not even 2 years. What is it, 2 years? Not even? Or get to
GP doesn't
4
like
years?
it.
It's just not worth it. You're gonna, it could be range bound for another 2 years, right? Like I just, to me, IPOs are frustrating. Just look at Roblox.
Oh, do we have to go there?
Yeah, well, bag holding on it. I'm not gonna lie. So
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
It had a decent week this week, but it's still not recovered from where it should be. But we'll
yeah,
see.
but not a lot of volume down, but it broke down from 40 straight to 28, right? Or
Yep.
30, or like it's in this basing formation, and it could spend another 5 years in this basing formation between 21 and 40 or 50 or whatever it is. Hasn't made a new low, at least. But
Yeah,
I don't know when
hopefully
that's
it's like
gonna
the
go.
floor here.
If it goes, it's a chance ultimately.
We have about 15 minutes left. We'll take a couple more charts. T-Stonk, Jason, I'm going to pick your chart for you, bud. On Semiconductor. On Semiconductor is a name I love, and a name that I'm so salty that I never got active in because I've always had so many chips, and this is one that has just done nothing but just march higher and march forward. I love it. I wish I were in it. I wish I were in it from way back. I mean, you see what it's done. It's respected the 50, it's respected the 20 the whole way. So for me, as long as it continues to do that, it's not a change of character. It's a buy for me. Obviously I would be opportunistic on when I bought, but there's nothing yet to determine that this chart is breaking down. Weren't we arguing with somebody about this, that it would be at 100, and they were saying it'll be at like 60 before it's at this was months ago. I want to say this was like somewhere back in here before it exploded. Yeah, up here in the
No, I think we were saying it's going to tag 60 before it tags 80 or whatever, 70. And I think it did both.
there was somebody in the chat that was saying that like it was going to break down somewhere through here. I don't remember. Anyway. Yeah, somewhere through here. Anyway, I love it. Nick, you're also a semiconductor junkie with your AGO, who has just marched as well. They did have earnings, and it was a little bit of a sell-off, but what do you think about On?
I like it.
So which one has performed better, On or LSCC?
LSCC looks great.
Or Lam Research?
Yep.
Lattice.
No, Lattice.
Lattice, yeah.
LSCC.
Yeah. I think it's set to go. What was the other one? There was one I was looking at too.
What's the ratio here? I don't understand this chart.
Here, I'll help you, brother. I will help you, brother. There you go.
So to me, LSCC looks better.
So
LSCC is already breaking out all-time highs.
You're 20% lower on returns since the beginning of 2022.
On or LSCC?
You would be up 20% more in On than you would LSCC.
What about since like 2020, 2018?
LSCC's up major. Well, let's just go back to the beginning of time. Or what have you done?
No, it broke out of a base in 2018.
What have you done for me lately?
No, the reason I'm asking is it broke out of like a 10-year base in 2019 from $10. So I was wondering how it compared over like a 5-year horizon.
Well, let's just go to the COVID reset, 623 to 380. All right. So let's go from the beginning of time.
No, look at the base that it broke out from, right?
How about that?
LSAC.
How about that beginning of time? Why
LSAC
am
is
I
still
so
winning.
defensive over on? I don't even own the damn thing.
No, because these are some of the smaller mega semiconductors, so I'd like to see how they compare with their other smaller counterparts. That's why I'm asking more than anything else, right?
You're
There's the
picking
beast
on
NVIDIA
me and
and
my
everyone else.
baby, my baby mama. One more chart. 3M.
Yes.
3M. Hang on, let me get back to normal here.
I still got my alert on 3M and $90. Never tagged it.
I did look at this today or yesterday. No, yeah, it was today. There you go. I remember I liked it over 107, whatever that is. What's the high there? 107.30. Yeah, I think if you can take out last week's high, I like it.
I still think it has a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to put money to work in 3M. I'm just saying,
I mean, I think if people are like, hey, this is the bottom and we're gonna rip higher from here, I don't think that's gonna be the case. But
respectfully, we agree.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't understand SLV, by the way. I don't understand how this looks amazing.
Wasn't silver? Did you say, what did you say?
Silver.
SLV?
Yeah.
Someone on
Isn't
the
silver
Nest-
largely tied to kind of what's happening with solar shit?
I don't know any of that stuff. I just don't understand how
shit.
this is amazing on the quarterly. Am I missing something?
SLV on the quarterly. Yeah.
It's been sideways for how many quarters now?
Yeah.
4 years, 5 years?
There's better opportunity in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just chart perspective.
Basing for 4 years after having a monster base is not like my ideas of awesome, but that's me. That's frustration personified or chartified.
All right, it's that time. We're wrapping up the show with less than 10 minutes to go. We normally do the stocks that we like or we don't like and whatever. We're changing it up a little bit differently today. Feel free to add us across social media, whether it's StockTwits or Twitter or whatever, with your own picks. But this is our quarterly pick. So the three of us have agreed that this had to be over $1 billion market cap. And it had to be higher than $10 in stock price. And the date that we're going to end this friendly competition amongst ourselves. I threw out that we should buy this ourselves to put our money where our mouth is, but we don't have to do that. I can't force GP and Nick to buy stocks. But we will end this competition on December the 4th. So from today until December 4th at the close, that is our time of record. So whoever has the greatest percentage increase of their stock wins, right? Like we're trying to find the biggest winner here. There are no shorts. This is a fully long idea here. So we're not saying we're playing anything to the downside. This is all things that we like to the upside and long until the close of the market on December 4th. Everybody got it? We know the rules?
Yep.
Nick, you weren't with us last week, but I am going to give you first shot at your name. Who do you draft with the number one overall pick in the 2023 third quarter stock draft?
I'm gonna go with Fastly. I think
Fastly.
I think we can pull a double out of it.
You're going to pull a double out of it. So 24 up to 50.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to note that on the chart.
Which one?
Fastly.
Fastly.
Pull
Okay.
a double. 24 to 50. Signed, Nick. I do like Fastly. I was looking at Fastly. This was another chart that I was looking at today. I do like it, Nick. Not a name that I was going to pick, but I do think you might get a double out of it.
We'll see.
GP, any take on Fastly?
Fastly has been insanely strong, even while the market's been pulling back. It just keeps going higher. So a lot of me thinks that a lot of the move is starting to get priced in, unless it's something we don't know. And a lot of these charts that have broken out of these bases have come back to test it in 2023. So we could move to, like, I don't know, around the 20 kind of 7 area, and come back and retest the 20 area is just what I was thinking. But that has nothing to do with Nick's pick. It could still be much higher by December 4th.
It could be much higher. Could be much
I would
higher.
love a retest of 20.
Could be much higher. So with the number 1 pick, Nick selects Fastly. I'm writing these down too. I'm not going to forget. You guys are on the hook.
No expected jump at all.
GP, I think it is time for your pick. And when we went over this in our pre-show notes, I was floored. I was taken back. So go ahead. Tell the people.
Yeah, so that was originally my pick. And as we've been talking more about this.
Oh, you are such a coward.
No, you're not gonna like my pick next then either. So my original pick was AMD.
Damn right it was.
Yeah. And I really like AMD. I'm in a position. I'm hoping for AMD to take out all-time highs by the end of the year. It trades like garbage. So if you're doing like short-term calls and stuff like that, good luck, because it trades like utter shit. But when it doesn't trade like utter shit for the 3 weeks or 4 weeks every quarter, it tends to move higher. And I like what it's doing. I just don't know where it will be by December 4th. So my bigger pick is Wayfair.
Wayfair, the old dub. So I want to point out this is the man who basically capitulated on his Intel is going to outperform AMD since he was going to pick AMD. I just want the record to show, Your Honor.
Intel just acting like garbage. So hey man, we follow price action ultimately, right? What's that?
W Wayfair, yeah. No, sorry.
Yes. So Wayfair is my pick. This I think has ability to do really well. Personally, they showed a profitable quarter for the first time in, like, I don't know, since the pandemic. And it back tested the base. It's held its hold and it pushes back through. I think ultimately this has an opportunity to get back to the one kind of 35, 140 area.
So not quite a double. Like one.
It might double. It might more than double, but I think it settles around this area because there's a monster short interest here. I think it's like 30 or 40% ultimately. And so you could have a whip all the way back up to like 190, but I think it ultimately settles around here. So that's the pick.
I like it. I like the setup overall.
And Nick, that's what I was talking about. Is like a lot of these things have broken out of their base, come back and retested. Some have broken back down through their bases, but Wayfair is one of the ones that has not broken back through the base, but instead is starting to rise back above. So that's what I think Fastly could do for a few weeks. And if it was sitting at 20, I would probably be further in your camp. But when it's at 24, I just don't know where it's going to be in December.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm
A
actually
back test of 20 and hold of Fastly will be really incredibly powerful.
I'm actually creating a new watch list so we can track them. And remember, it doesn't matter what happens in between now and December 4th. It's what price is at on December 4th. So Wayfair could go to 250 and close at 100, and that doesn't matter.
Yep.
I know we know that. I'm just making sure everybody else understands that. I came in and I was actually going to choose Airbnb. I'm going to be really honest about it. I was going to choose Airbnb. That's who I was going to choose. And then on Friday, they were announced to go in the S&P 500. And I think there's going to be some forced buying. I think ultimately Airbnb is going to be higher in the short term, but I'm not sure how it's going to look on December 4th. So I was scouring charts and I really, really could not find another chart that I liked for the next 3 months. And I'm not eating crow here, but I got to, I got to admit, Tesla looks phenomenal. And I think Tesla is going to go back to all-time highs in this time frame. So let's see, what is that? 70%ish, 65%. So not as crazy doubling it up as much as these guys, but I'm going to say Tesla back to all-time high. So there's my pick. Tesla.
Nice.
I'm actually going to buy some Tesla. So I am going to put my money where my mouth is. I've been out of Tesla for a minute. I'm actually going to get back active, most likely this week. Doesn't mean I like Elon. Doesn't mean I like all the bullshit. This is based on me making money. So throw my feelings out the side door, out the window. So there we go, Tesla.
And since you brought out Tesla, can we also talk about RIVN? Because that looks phenomenal as well.
Yes. So I didn't want to make this about picking things that we already have and like or own necessarily. You can't own it, but I didn't want to make it about that. But I love RIVN, and I'm probably going to increase my position here in RIVN as well.
That 50% retrace,
it looks so good.
It looks really, really freaking good. It's the wick right under the 50%, closes back above, and then the following week just monsters through. I would love an opportunity for it to pull back to like the 2050, 2080 range. That would be, I think, a gift here. But it looks pretty much like Tesla did in, I think it's April.
Yeah. I think if you get anything close to that, this is just me. I think if you get anything close to these 2 wicks,
yep,
it's insta buy. Like, of course, you would love anywhere in the 20s, but I think 21s are delectable as well.
Your risk to reward increases greatly down there.
Yeah, for sure. But you might miss, right? You never know if you're going to get that. I'm not saying it will or it won't. I'm just saying you never know. I think RIVN's going to have a big run. So 2 names that obviously like RIVN and Asana. Asana reports this week. Another name that Nick and I both agree on and like, Zscaler also reports this week. Zscaler looks really good, Nick. I don't know if you want to talk about Zscaler.
Yeah, I like ZS a lot too. I like the daily. I'm just using, what is it, 162.50 is kind of my next pivot. I just want to see a break through that on some volume.
You know what also looks good? Speaking of names that broader based, Home Depot and Lowe's.
Yes, specifically Lowe's. I've been on the Lowe's bandwagon for a minute. And yes, Lowe's looks really good. Home Depot, I mean, they're almost identical charts,
Yeah.
but Lowe's seems to
this-
have been stronger.
And this is happening in a seasonally weak period, right? Like,
Yes, in the
that's
summer. Yep.
this is not the time people do repairs to homes going into winter, going into post school. So it's interesting to see these names are starting to perk up now as well, because seasonality is usually leading into summer.
Agreed. Back to Zscaler for just a second. I tweeted this a couple weeks ago. I really like this above 155. It's above 155. A name that I'm likely to get active in. I think last week we talked about SentinelOne putting out for a potential buyer, courting buyers in the cybersecurity space. As we know, a space that I love to be in. So at some point I'm likely to be out of my SentinelOne position, whether it's they're sold or if it's an all stock deal, I moved into another company. We'll see what that might look like in the future. So I'm always looking for another name to be in, and it could very well be Zscaler. Okta had a really good week last week. I mean, look at that. That was a hell of a move. Really like Okta.
Got Vive.
It did everything it was supposed to do on earnings.
Dude, look at Melly.
Melly and Vive.
Vive had a ripper of a last Thursday, Friday.
Melly had a big week.
Breaking out of a range.
Vive. Another one. I mean, there's a lot of these.
I love Melly. God damn, that looks so good.
Melly looks so, but this is this is how we started the conversation, right, Nick? It was the rally is broadening. The names are starting to pile up, right? HD, Lowe's, Melly, Vive, Okta, like the list can go on, and it's not just Tesla and Apple and NVIDIA and all the ones of the magnificent seven that they talk about, right? You're starting to see the expansion of bigger stocks participating, and that's not something you should ignore very easily.
Right. Agreed. And that's why I think we still have some gas in the tank. We've cooled off the last few weeks. This week was an up week, so I think there's some gas in the tank. Yeah, there you go.
Dude, we had 3 weeks down in the queues, and everyone was like, "Oh, nice bear market rally." That doesn't seem like euphoric, right? Like, this was a nice bear market rally, but now it's the end.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's take it for what it's worth. Follow the price action. And
It's not investment advice. This is our schmuck looks at charts and what we think. You think what you think. That's what makes it all great.
Makes a market.
Yeah. Hey guys, this went by really fast again. I love it when that happens, but I also hate it when that happens because we have so much fun talking about everything, and we try to get in to as many different topics as we can. But thank you to everyone who is here on a holiday night to be with us. We appreciate you. You're probably already subscribed, but if you're not, go hit that subscribe button. Obviously, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your coworkers, say, hey, these 3 jackasses are pretty good about what they talk about. We find them entertaining, or we like to make fun of them. Whatever that reason is, shout us out, pass us along. But with that, my brothers, it was great being with you yet again. And thank you, everyone. Randy, shout out to you. Thanks for being here. Everybody else, short week this week. But let's try to get that bread. Have a great one, and we will be back.